Hey y'all, welcome back. It's week 2, episode number 2, and we're going to be dealing with anxiety today. First things first, it is the first of the month. It's the first day of the week, it's the first of the month. So I hope you all are having a good start to your week. If it's not going so hot, guess what? Tomorrow's a new day to, set forth and be great, as always. So we're going to be dealing with, what anxiety is. Like, what is anxiety? Like, I know we hear the word or we come up with different definitions for it, but what is it truly? We're going to also talk about, different types of disorders that fall under anxiety. We're also going to talk about what can cause or trigger your anxiety. Like, what why is my anxiety this way? Why is my anxiety only come during this moment? So we're going to also talk about what triggers your anxiety. We're going to throw in there, talking about how our timelines can trigger our anxiety as well. So our personal timelines we set on ourselves, or maybe a timeline somebody has set upon us, but that can trigger our anxiety as well. We're also going to talk about how to recognize the signs and symptoms of anxiety. Both traditional and non-traditional signs or symptoms. So ones that we easily recognize, like, ooh, this is how I know my anxiety coming, or the ones that's not so textbook, as we'll say. We're also going to talk about how to cope or deal with your anxiety and not just let it consume you. You always want to make sure you have control over what's happening to you, but don't let what's happening to you control you. I know that sounds a little twisted, but you as the human want to always make sure you have control over the things happening in your life. Don't let anxiety or other disorders control you. And last but not least, you may be a person watching this video who doesn't deal with anxiety, or it's not a overwhelming problem for you, or you may be someone who has anxiety and you want to know how to better, tell you first you may want to know how to better help someone with anxiety, or you want to be able to tell your friends and family members how they can help you with anxiety. So that's what we want to deal with at the end. So we're not going to necessarily go in the order I gave the things, but those are the topics we'll be handling today, and I can't wait to, express them to you all. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to, get it together, and then we'll be right back. Okay? Okay. So welcome back. Again, today we're going to talk about anxiety. And first things first, anxiety is an overwhelming, uncontrollable feeling of uneasiness or worry about a certain event that is coming up, or about something, someone, and you don't know what the outcome is going to be on the other side. So it may be, you have anxiety about a test you're going to take. We tend to see that a lot with school. You may also have anxiety about a presentation at work, and we'll talk about public speaking and that form of anxiety a little bit later. But anxiety is just that uncontrollable. That's the key word, uncontrollable. I wish I could have the words come out my mouth right now, but uncontrollable. Like, you just feel like it just happens. Like, you don't specifically say, "Ooh, I want to be anxious." It just happens, and so that is the main marker of anxiety. It's an uncontrollable uneasiness and just overall worry about situations. And most of the times, the worry comes from you know preconceived notions we have, or just us being in our head. But that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is that uncontrollable, I don't know how many times I'm gonna stress that, but uncontrollable uneasiness or worry about an event coming up, or a person, place, or thing that you don't know what the outcome on the other side is going to be. So you may have anxiety going to the bank because you don't know if they're going to tell you, "Girl, boy, your accounts have been frozen," or your check didn't clear. So those are things that can cause us anxiety or make us feel anxious. And so, three different types of anxiety disorders that fall under anxiety, fall under that definition of anxiety is, you have, first and foremost, you have just generalized anxiety disorder, and you'll see that abbreviated as GAD. But generalized anxiety disorder is just a nice clinical way. Like I said, this page is to break it down, but it's just a way to say that your anxiety is ongoing every day. It does not matter the setting, the situation. Your anxiety is ever present. So that's what generalized anxiety disorder is, and that's more so the most common. There's also social anxiety disorder, which is SAD, and that one is as it sounds, it's attached to social settings, social situations, be it, graduation, a party, just hanging out with friends in public. But it's social settings cause the onset of the anxiety, cause the onset of the symptoms, which we'll talk about later, the different types of symptoms. And last but not least, y'all, let me look at my notes. I'm being transparent. There are panic and phobia, which is under the umbrella of anxiety. So with panic, those are those feelings of it just onsets immediately. Like you don't have any precursors or warning. It just comes where you feel like your chest is tight, shortness of breath. You feel like maybe the room is closing in on you, heart palpitations, sweating. That's what panic and panic attacks fall under. And the last thing is phobias. And those are specific fears or anxiety related to like a specific thing. So it could be, fear of heights, fear of spiders, fear of going outside, fear of whatever, but it's related to that one specific thing. It's not necessarily, oh, I'm afraid of socializing. I am afraid of going into Walmart. But simply, it's a specific anxiety attached, to that. So those are the different types of disorders, or the way you can specify, that's the word, your types of anxiety or what kind of anxiety you may be dealing with. And so next, what we're going to go into is identifying the signs and symptoms. So I'm going to get my mind right on that, and I'll be right back. Signs and symptoms of anxiety. So there are many different signs, symptoms. Of course, this list is not an all-encompassing list. This list is specifically just dealing with, the key ones, or the ones that we tend to recognize, and also the ones that probably come up for a lot of us, not all, but a lot of us, and we didn't realize that, oh, that's anxiety. First things first, excessive worrying. So, past just the, oh, I wonder how this is going to turn out. That thinking about, I wonder how it's going to turn out, that worry of, oh, is it going to turn out good? It turns into an all day, every day. It's stopping you from your daily functioning. It's a matter of, oh my God, what is going to happen? Oh my, you tend to, with the excessive worry, you tend to think the worst. Those are the people who tend to, catastrophize or make everything seem like it's going to be the end of the world. So that's one of the more known symptoms, we'll say, is that, you have that excessive worry. Also, you have, you feel agitated, you feel irritable you can't explain it. You're just like, you're on edge and I tend to deal with that one a lot. Is I feel keyed up. I have no reason why. And as we'll discuss later, when we're identifying triggers, you can begin to see like, okay, I get irritated when this happens. So, but yeah, that's another symptom of anxiety, is feeling, agitated, irritable, just feeling like, another one is restlessness. Like you feel like, I just can't get comfortable, either physically or mentally. You feel like you're still going. You can't calm down. And that's also another sign of anxiety, because with anxiety, it's your mind is tricking you to feel like something is going to happen. So when you're restless, you're constantly in that state of what's going to happen. Next thing is, having trouble with sleeping, feeling fatigued, not being able to go to sleep, but, your sleep is interrupted a lot of times with anxiety, because, again, your mind is like, ooh, something is going to happen. What is going to happen? Oh, my God, I can't. And then so when you get tired, but then when you lay down, you can't fall asleep. or if you're able to fall asleep, you can't stay asleep for long. So that's another, a sign or a symptom, however you want to describe it, of what is identifying as anxiety. And lastly, another, we'll say known symptom is difficulty concentrating. So you could be reading a book, and if you're anxious about something, or you don't realize you're anxious about something, that's another telltale sign. Your body always tells before you may physically, as a human, be able to be like, oh, that's what that is. But yeah, difficulty concentrating, rereading a line over and over in a book, or at work when you're reading, materials you need for work, rereading. Or for myself, sometimes I know my anxiety is, getting on the high side when I can't focus to write a note for work. But again, you have difficulty concentrating, or you're jumping from topic to topic, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna start here. I ended up here, and that ties in also to that restlessness, because when you can't concentrate, you tend to get restless because you're not getting what you need to done. Some more, I won't say uncommon, but some more signs or symptoms. And again, with signs and symptoms, this is not saying, ooh, you have it. These are just things to look at to be like, I wonder why that's happening. Impulsivity. So just acting on, that initial thought, because you don't want to think about it too much, because when you think about it too much, it becomes overwhelming. Being indecisive. So for some people, making decisions causes them anxiety. So being indecisive and just not picking. It could be something as simple as you want chocolate or vanilla ice cream. And that person could stand there and be like, well, vanilla is good, but chocolate's good too. And so being indecisive. And of course, it may not be always simple things like that. It could be bigger things, but overall, the idea of I can't make a choice, that can cause anxiety. Being tense in your muscles, shaking, and not understanding why, not fully being capable to understand why am I feeling this way. Those are other triggers that you might be dealing with some anxious symptoms, as well as picking or pulling at your skin, your lips, your hair. A lot of people, you might see them biting their lip or picking the skin off their lips or the skin off the back of their nails. You see some people is serious, is pulling their hair or pulling out their hair. Those are other physical, symptoms of anxiety. Grinding your teeth and not even realizing it, because a lot of us do that in our sleep. We do it when we're tense, which goes back to your muscles, and that can also be a sign that you're anxious, you're feeling anxious. And last but certainly not least, like I said, this list is not an all-encompassing list, but last but not least, just feeling like you can't talk, like feeling like the weight of everything, the worry, the tenseness, the inability to sleep, all those things. But and then it compounds to you not knowing what to say, not being able to talk. And so that's another sign that something else may be going on. Next, we're going to go into, because we talked about signs and symptoms, so we're going to, talk about triggers and identifying those triggers. So, different triggers can be anything. It can be anything under the sun. But some triggers for us for anxiety could be past trauma that we could have dealt with it or we haven't dealt with it. So certain situations come up that we experience again, and if we never dealt with the problem, or if we haven't dealt with the problem to a certain extent, it could cause us to relive that anxiety, and that can cause us to stress out, which leads me into stress, and as well as conflicts with people at work, your peers, your friends, your loved ones, your boo, anybody. Those stress can cause us to be anxious, because it's like, especially when you're having conflict around that stress, when it's like, oh, when so-and-so come home tonight, I know we're going to fight, and you begin to worry about that. Or when you get to work, like, oh, my boss can't stand me, and I just know she's going to pick on me today. And sidebar, we're going to have a TED talk about that one too, about workplace, just comfortability. But that's another topic for another day. But yes, also, sometimes with our friends, while we are we're millennials, we're in an age where we've found the friends that we want to have around. Sometimes it's hard, dealing with conflict with our friends because it's like, I don't know, they might stop being my friend. And if they stop being my friend, I might not do this, X, Y, Z. So that can cause us anxiety and cause us to panic as well. Um, a big one like this one is sometimes a cause of anxiety for me is financial, because sometimes we can do our best to plan out budget, watch our expenses, but life happens, and then oh, I gotta wait 2 weeks, but this bill has to be paid tomorrow, and I wasn't expecting that because this extra, I had a ticket that I got when I was, texting and driving, which is July 1st, y'all. In the state of Florida, texting and driving is a primary offense. Little education in there for y'all, but yes, unexpected expenses may occur, and then that throws off your whole budget for the month. So financial, reasons may cause you to can trigger your anxiety as well. Um, Make sure I got it. Ooh, a big one for our age group. Social comparison can trigger our anxiety, which ties into timelines. And so I put up a post earlier today about, you're doing exactly what you need to be doing and exactly when you need to be doing it. And my mom had to teach me this when I finished undergrad, because I was comparing myself to friends who were like, oh, she's married, she got a house, ooh, dot, 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 dot. And my mom had to be like, first, you don't know what that person is giving up in order to have that. Like, I have a very close relationship with my mom, but if I, was working, I would, if I had a house right now, I would have to, work. I would have to work extra hard to keep a roof over my head. So I might not be able to spend that time with my mom like I want to, or seeing friends married off, but you don't know what they're dealing with in their relationship in private. We only see what they post, which is a big thing, and like, again, another topic for another day. So the three things you need to ask yourself when it comes to timelines and social comparison and having that anxiety around it is: number one, who set this timeline on you? That's the first thing you need to ask yourself. Like, who set this timeline? Did I set this timeline on myself? Did my mom set it? Who set this timeline? And why do I feel I need to keep up with this timeline? Um, which leads me into my second, point of, why is this timeline important? So when you identify who set this timeline, like, for myself, I by now I was supposed to have, in my mind, I should have been licensed the end of this year. And who set that timeline? I did. Why was that timeline important? Because, like I said, financial, y'all, once I get licensed, y'all, I'm not balling, but anyway, that's, don't pay me no mind. On that note, pay everything else some attention. But no, for real, like, why is this timeline important? Oh, because most of my peers are going to be licensed. Most, but not all. So, and then the last question you need to ask yourself is, do you really want this thing, or do you like the idea of it? So for some of us, we feel like, oh, I should be married by now. Do you really want to be married, or do you like the idea of being married? Because, even though I'm not married myself, it's still, that's a big relationship, a serious relationship you have to take on and be able to handle. It's not going to always be sunshine days. Um, but yeah, you need to definitely ask yourself, am I in love with the actual thing that it is, or am I in love with the idea? So, because even with me wanting to be licensed, yes, I am in love with the thing that it is, because being licensed is, for right now, that's my immediate goal. But once I get licensed, there are other responsibilities that come along with that I have to be prepared for as well. So, those are three questions you need to ask yourself. Who set this timeline? Why is this timeline important? And is this truly something you want, or is it something that you think you want? Are you like, that's it. That's what you need to ask yourself when it comes to setting timelines. Um, last, well, no, not last, y'all, not last. Your girl is prepared today. I had notes. I was ready. Period. I'm so down. Y'all pray for me. How to cope with, you know, your your anxiety. So coping with your anxiety is There are many different things that you can do, but some healthy coping techniques that I'm gonna, that are some things that are simple. They don't require much, if any, money. So, I always want to make sure that's what I want to make sure is that I suggest things that are feasible to the masses, because I don't want to suggest something that's gonna cost y'all $10, $15 a week, because I know I can't spare sometimes an extra $10, $15 a week. So most of the things when I give out coping mechanisms, they're gonna be free or as little money as possible. So one is to challenge the negative thinking attached to the anxiety. So just ask yourself, is this true? Like I discussed in a video last week, is like, asking yourself, is this true, or is this something in my mind? That's first and foremost. Secondly, another coping mechanism you could use is just practicing deep breathing. And one simple way to practice that deep breathing is to breathe in for 4, hold your breath for 8. I messed up. So, with coping mechanisms for dealing with anxiety, I always want to make sure with any coping mechanisms I give with anxiety and future topics, they're going to be free or as close to free as possible, because I understand that we live in an age where money don't grow on trees. Despite what people put on social media, everybody ain't balling. So I have a few healthy coping techniques to use when you're dealing with anxiety. So first things first. First, if it's a negative thought you're having attached to the anxiety, ask yourself, is this true? Or is this just me, you know, overthinking or trying to sabotage myself? Challenge that negative thought. Like, is this true? And replace it with a positive thought. And we'll discuss that in the coming weeks. Secondly, practicing your deep breathing. So with deep breathing is one as simple as 4-7-8. So you breathe in for 4, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and you push it out for 8. So that's it. Breathe in for 4, hold it for 7, let it go for 8. Another technique with numbers is a grounding exercise. So I've talked about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on my page, on my personal page before. But identifying 5 things you see when your anxiety is getting out of control, you feel like it's beginning to overwhelm. Identifying 5 things you see. Identifying 4 things that you can um, feel. So what are 4 things that you can feel at that moment? So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And just doing that in a succession so you can bring just your inner thoughts and your blood pressure, your heart rate, bring everything down so you can calm down enough to deal with what's causing that anxiety, because we've identified triggers, prior to that. Um, Exercising, yoga, things of that nature is another great healthy topic. Healthy coping technique, that you can use, because I go to the gym on a daily basis, and while it is for health, it also helps me to calm down and refocus. And I love going. Like, I have a little anxiety sometimes about going, because I'm like, oh, what if it's full? What is that? But once I get there, I feel great. And of course, if your anxiety is attached to being outside, being in social settings, I'm not telling you to jump out and just go outside, because especially if that's still a scary thing for you. But for those who the anxiety may just be general, or it may be attached to a specific thing, not related to the gym or exercising, then of course that's a great coping mechanism. Um, Also, writing down your thoughts, when you're triggered, like what happens when you start feeling those anxious symptoms. Writing them down in a journal and bringing them to, which brings me to my most important point and closest to my heart. Bringing them to a therapist and explaining to them, like, hey, this is what's going on. I can't necessarily explain to you, but you can read what's going on, and then you and your therapist can discuss it from there. Also, in very, very severe situations, sometimes you may need medication. I'm not pro medication, but I am pro the medication when it is truly needed. So sometimes we do need the medication, but don't let that be your first resort. Um, Last things to deal with is how to support someone or how to let somebody know how to support you when you're anxious is first, educating yourself on anxiety, educating yourself on your anxiety if you're dealing with it, if you are the supporter, educating yourself on what anxiety is. So watching my video, y'all can play my video for them if they boom, that can solve that. Also helping them with the with avoidance behavior. So if you're the supporter, reaching out to them, calling them on the phone, saying, "Hey, let's go. I'm going to come over and see you," or "How are you doing today?" Getting them out of those avoidance behaviors. So if you're the person with the anxiety, having an accountability partner checking in on you, or y'all having agreed like, if I don't call you by Tuesday at 5 o'clock, you're going to call me Tuesday at 5:30. So having accountability partners to avoid the avoidance. um, Making their feelings around their anxiety more normal, desensitizing them. Because a lot of times when you're dealing with your anxiety symptoms, you feel like, oh, everybody's looking at me. Oh my God, the room is closing in. And then that creates a bigger panic. So, if you're the supporter, reassuring them that, hey, there's nothing wrong. You're human and you're feeling, which is the ultimate thing. You're human at the end of the day. If you're the person going through the anxiety, letting them know, hey, please don't make me, I'm all, because you're already beating. Sometimes we beat ourselves up enough with what we're feeling. So letting our family, our friends, our loved ones know that, hey, just help me to feel as normal as possible. And for the supporter, this one specifically for the supporter, setting boundaries so that you don't get into a reassurance trap. And what I say by a reassurance trap is when someone's anxiety is very severe, they tend to question you after you've, answered a question. Like you can, they can ask you, "You're not angry at me, are you?" And you'll be like, "No, I'm not angry." And then they're like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" So setting the boundaries as if to say like, "Hey, once I answer the question 3 times, we're not going to discuss it anymore." And you being, but yeah, this one specifically for the supporters because it's a fine line between invalidating them, but you also have to protect yourself as well. As I say to anyone, don't harm yourself to help another. So you have to set the boundaries, and if they truly love you and care for you, they will support them. And last but not least, assist in helping the person when ready. This is another one for the supporters. When the person is ready to make that next step to get the help, to go to therapy, to, attend a support group, do don't force them to do anything, but support them when they're ready. And again, just being present when they're having their anxious symptoms, especially when they're going through a panic attack, just being physically present, helping them to, use their coping skills that they've already expressed to you before that they like to use or helps them the most. So, those are the big things to remember when supporting someone or, expressing to your supporters what you need when you're feeling your anxiety. Um, but that's it for this week, y'all. I know this video is a lot longer, but again, I want to, get as much as I can in a short amount of time. DM me, email me. My email is mental reality, so it's my page name without the underscore at gmail.com. If you have any questions that you don't want to necessarily DM, or if you have any suggestions that you want to put out there for topics, email them, DM them to me. But I want to express my appreciation again. If it wasn't for y'all, it would be no mental reality. So again, thank you for taking time out your day to watch this video. And I will see y'all next week.